Hey, happy Friday. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chuck. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We have a fun one. We are talking about the worst investments in Pokemon. As you know, this is a channel where we always talk about what we see as the best investments. Today, we're going over a poll I posted 1 or 2 days ago, asking you, the subscribers, the commenters, what are the worst investments? I'm going to go through each one, talk about my thoughts, talk about some takeaways that we can have going forward, because I think, we have a lot of new sets coming out with a lot of different products for each one. And on top of that, I'm going to start talking about it now because nobody else is. The holiday season is a time where we see a lot of Pokemon product hit the market, and oftentimes they are not as desirable items for investment. So let's get started. Arimon TCG, shout out to Arimon, has a YouTube channel. Big fan. Appreciate the content. Just watched the grading video. Super good. Coming in with a few different items. Prismatic singles. Greninja Gold Stars. Greninja Gold Stars was also mentioned a few times in the comments here. Stained Glass Bird Trio from Hidden Fate CTBs. Any single that's pumping like crazy. And literally anything sealed older than Twilight is a good buy in their book. And I tend to agree. Prismatic continues to be printed. Restocked, printed, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. More product is being available to the market, and more of that product is being ripped by the day. A lot of that is due to rip and shippers selling packs for over $10 a pack, which, guys, that's insane. I just did an opening of Prismatic on my stream on Sunday. By the way, 10:30 Eastern time this Sunday. If you're around, come drop by, get your coffee, all that. But yeah, set value, since we've been talking about it, it was sitting around $6,000, now down to about $4,900, and expect that to continue to drop. A lot of people would argue that the evolutions in the set suck. I don't fully disagree with that. I think an evolution is an evolution, and they're pretty hard to pull, and that's always going to hold some type of premium. People hate the crowns, they hate the rainbow borders. I understand. Not everybody, but a lot of people. I think the Sunbreon is a phenomenal card. It's a phenomenal art. Would I pay $1,000 for it? Absolutely not. I also don't really buy singles anyway. I prefer the Roaring Moon. Like many people, not a hot take at all, but I've always said that about this card. Raging Bolt's good card. Also very competitive in the TCG. Iron Valiant, right? This Iron Crown is really cool. I love the Iron Hands. There's a really deep set. You have Master Balls, Pokeballs, God Packs. So there's no reason to buy these cards, because we could probably expect Prismatic to be printed to some capacity for the next 3 years, if I had to guess. I think we'll see most of that in the next year. And a lot of people's arguments are that, ETBs in general have been somewhat short printed because they're more expensive to make, maybe not as high of an ROI, which is why in sets like 151, Paldean Fates, you haven't seen them as much. You've seen the booster bundles. So it could be that the ETBs continue to go up, but the Pokemon Company has come out. They've said they will be printing to demand for the set. We don't really know what that looks like. It is somewhat uncharted territory for them to come out and talk about a particular set to this capacity. So time will tell one way or another. I do believe the singles will continue to drop. As far as promo cards go, I agree. I mean, this is just pure market manipulation. People trying to take advantage of a certain cycle and hype, make a buck, artificially inflate the demand on a product. And that happens all the time in the hobby, but it's more volatile when you are referring to singles. There are a lot of these. Not a lot of them have graded 10, and that is also another factor that can go into the hype of promos. So that's something to always keep in mind. Peaked somewhere around 40-ish dollars, I would say, but has really since come down into the 20s. 25 is kind of where you're expecting gem mint cards to be sold at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if it continues to drop because the hype will eventually shift to other things and bigger and better and move on. Um, who knows? Maybe the Lucario promo and the Crown Zenith ETB will be $30 one day too. I would be shocked, but wouldn't be that surprised considering where everything has gone. So, Ariman, thank you for the comment. Yeah. Great Ninja Gold Star single tens. I don't know exactly what you mean by single tens. I think you probably just mean auxiliary products of a set that are tens, like for instance the Moltres, the bird tens of like Crown Zenith. Yeah, those are printed more typically. Hidden Fates tens, right? Because Pokemon Company, they want to get these products on the shelves. Typically come with a promo card, 4 packs, 5 packs, whatever. But yeah, they don't perform as well as an ETB, at least in recent history. But it's a lower entry point for many people. It's exposure to a set. I don't think it's the worst thing ever. They are a little bit harder to store. They're not optimal. Not optimal for as an investment vehicle. But when a set gets to a certain age, pretty much anything for that set becomes investable if you can get it at the right price. For instance, I would buy those tens all day at MSRP if I saw them at Walmart, which I haven't seen cards in 5 months because kids keep stealing cards and they no longer stock, but that's a different story. Palette of Stellar, Miracle, no shrink wrap. Yeah, I mean, I'm not buying Japanese, and I'm also not buying Stellar Crown. That set sucks. I don't care what anybody says. The Squirtle, the Bulbasaur are cool, but it is mid to bad in my opinion. Iono's Belly Bolt collection box, a box that many scalpers would hoard, and now they're having a hard time offloading because they are losing money, or at the very least having capital tied up. And that's a big theme these days in investing is, you may not lose money, but you may not make money. This is a perfect example of that. Obviously, pre-release, super hyped, whatever. I don't pay too much attention to that, but if you bought during this time, I'm so sorry. Yeah, currently going for $42 plus shipping. That's before tax. You get 6 packs, Journey, Surging. I believe it's Paradox, and maybe it looks like Twilight. Correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, it's 6 pretty mid packs of Scarlet and Violet era. You get a promo card. You get a couple promo cards that, it's a full art Belly Bolt. And then you get some pens. So, and I think it's like an acrylic stand or something like that, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I think like there is no reason to be buying these products right at release. These are the type of products that one day, if demand drops, they'll be $15 on clearance. Like we've seen for many products. Also, Fusion Strike ETBs, $15 at Costco. If you remember, you remember. Yeah, I think this is a terrible investment, partially because these sets are still well in the print window, but you just get so much fluff in the box. It's pretty big to store. It's a cool product from like a collector standpoint, and if you're just ripping packs, it's, not a great price per pack at MSRP. I don't know the exact price. I'm assuming it's probably like $30 or something. Not the worst thing in the world, but yeah, I think it's a pretty poor investment, and that goes for most collection boxes being released right now. Now, we have seen in the past that some collection boxes do really well. If you're familiar with the Deoxys and Espeon box, the tag team box from back in the day, in 2020, I opened 2 of them from Target, and they were $55 each, and that was even expensive at the time. Of course, now they're going for $950 on the market. Crazy times. But I just feel like collection boxes suck now. Like there aren't that many cool ones. Like, yeah, you get, the UPCs and SPCs are still fine, but like, dude, these boxes are ass. We don't get very many good promos in them anymore that are unique. I think like really the most notable one that comes to mind is the Black Bolt White Flare Victini, which nobody's talking about. I've been talking about it. I think it's a solid promo considering the era and what we've gotten as far as collection boxes go. Even like Blooming Waters and Sea and Sky, like the promos they're just not that great. So, that's a whole other thing, but I think these collection boxes are super overvalued. Big to store. You'll be getting these packs. You can get them at cheaper price points eventually if you're somewhat patient. And $42 before potential shipping and tax. Pretty bad investment in my opinion. So I'm staying away. Probably forever. Empty 10s, yeah, not a great investment. Although, hey, if you have some bulk, you need to put it in a 10. That works. Also, I did a thing. I had a friend who had some nieces and some nephews. Gave them a shitload of bulk, put them in some tins in a Ziploc bag, whatever. That's a good use for it. And they love the cards, so it's pretty cool. So there's some value there. I wouldn't pay money for them, for real. Case of Paldea Evolved is just too recent to be paying $400 a box. Yeah, and obviously, there's a premium on the case. I think it comes out to like $435, $454. My mistake. On a Paldea case, I know Mitch just got the case at a card show for like what, 1,500-1,600 bucks. That's crazy. But yeah, 450 a box average for a case premium. I'm not seeing it. We're also seeing Sword and Shield cases be selling with no case premium right now. So I think there's usually a premium on cases, but like if you really think about it, the way that the hobby's moving with them being opened for streams and all that, like I feel like the case premium is a little bit overrated sometimes for like ultra modern and modern and whatnot. I would not be paying $450 a box for a sealed case. That is crazy work. And the box is retraced a little bit with the announcement of the boxes being in the vending machines being restocked. Now we don't know how many there will be. I doubt it'll be that so much like supply that it's going to really impact the market, but it has impacted it from its previous high of, consistently selling in like the 370s, 380s plus. Now appears to be down to 360, 350, somewhere in that range. So for my money, I would much rather buy something older, something that's less likely to be reprinted in a Silver Tempest, for instance, with a better chase card like the Lugia. I think Paldea is a good set. I think the Magikarp is a fine chase card, and I think it will do well long term as a top box in the era, but barely 2 years old, pushing $400. I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. I said it wasn't the worst buy at 300, and the way it played out was kind of exactly what I thought. I wasn't saying to go out and buy it. I just thought that there wasn't a whole lot that was going to bring it down at the moment. With the hype being where it is, with people buying it, the demand and all that, it was pushing $400. So we were kind of right, but definitely not buying at this price point. Not with other things available on the market that are older and arguably better. So yeah, I agree. Buying promo singles hype, we've already gone over that. Totally agree. Buying a PSA 10 of a card is a bad investment long term. Once demand drops, prices might drop more. I agree. I do agree that when demand drops, prices drop. But sometimes PSA 10s can be undervalued on a card that has a low pop, that's a reasonable chase. We've seen it with the Magikarp. If you bought a bunch of PSA 10s, well, you were in business recently. Now, a lot of that is manipulation, call it what you want, but it is a lot more volatile. I would be very careful doing that. You're probably better off just buying cards and grading them than buying them, unless you want them for your collection. That's a totally different story. So yeah, I'm staying away from most singles, most slabs. I might buy some here and there for like my own personal collection or like promos that are undervalued, but a lot of them are very expensive right now because they've been pumped. I wouldn't buy any singles for investing unless it's PC or country exclusive. Yeah. Pokemon Center Stamp promo is probably going to do well in the future. They're exclusive. I get it. Personally, I think I'm not buying them. I have a little criticism of PCETBs in general. I've talked about it before. I understand they're exclusive. I just think they're overrated as fuck. Country exclusivity, yeah. Look at the Chinese cards. Look at the monochromatic red Victini in Japanese. Like, that stuff is really cool. Like, tournament exclusive cards, staff cards, like, that stuff is rad if you can find it. Modern graded cards, yeah, went over that. Sunbreon or any of the Prismatic SARs, I expect all of these to be dropping, but I expect all of them to hold a decent amount of value for the length of the next few years. Is there a world where the Sunbreon is $300? Maybe, but that would mean that everything in the era really is down, because it's hard for me to imagine that any card passes this one in value that's not like Bubble Mew. So we'll see. A lot of demand, very hard to pull. Some certain SV sets like Temporal, short to midterm, won't do well as others in Pokemon Go. Yeah, the sets that aren't as popular, Vivid Voltage, Pokemon Go. I would argue Temporal is probably a little bit more desirable right now than those, because it's maybe a better price point, maybe a bit more demand, maybe better arts, even though a lot of people don't like Temporal. Yeah, personally, unless it's a really good deal, I'm avoiding all sets that I consider mid or bad, like Shrouded Fable. There's an argument that like the PC ETBs are, they're under $100, so it's a good investment. Again, if you get it low enough, anything is good in this hobby, but I'm staying away, man. I don't want to store it. I gotta store stuff. You know what I mean? People don't talk about that enough. But yeah, I agree. Paldea Evolved at its current market price is very high. I agree. Temporal, short to midterm, yeah. Popularity isn't there for Paradox Pokemon. I don't know if they're going to age very well. You look at the crowns of the era, everybody loves this era, but when you actually look under the hood, sometimes not as great as you... I question how well something like Temporal can do in 10 years. Like, who cares about Iron Leaves? I mean, it's not... I just don't see it. Walking Wake? Come on now. Singular booster bundles. I actually disagree. I think booster bundles are a very good investment. I made a video a while back actually looking at every product type average ROI for the last year from June 3rd, 2024 to 2025, just 365 days. Booster bundles actually kind of middling performance considering how many of them are printed. And I think they'll continue to do well as time goes on because they're ripped more often than not. More often than not, but ripped more often than maybe other products. And Pokemon Company, they make them to be ripped. There's no fluff, 6-packs, bang. Like, it's also really great to store. Singular mini tins, I think, kind of a similar story to the booster bundles, but typically more expensive and, not as easy to display. People don't really care about mini tins. They're just kind of there. So, Destined Rivals booster boxes at $250. Yeah, man. I think I've always said that that's really expensive. But it's complicated. Look, I understand that we're probably going to get more of them. We haven't really seen that for booster boxes impact prices that much. Everything is still way above MSRP. That could change if the demand drops in the market. We'll see what happens, right? But Destined Rivals is a very good set. It is a top tier set. It is the best booster box of the era, and it's not even close in my opinion. Do I think that if you buy today at $250, you'll be fine in 3 years? Yes. Do I recommend you do that? No. I bought my first box at $215, so quite a bit cheaper. And I feel pretty good about it. I wanted some exposure to the set. That was my decision. If I have the opportunity to buy boxes at MSRP, I will buy as many as I possibly can because I'm just such a believer that this box will do well long term. Phenomenal SIRs, phenomenal IRs, Team Rocket. The box looks fantastic with Mewtwo, Giovanni. And, a unless we get a ton of stock, like it's hard for me to imagine this price dropping that much. I hate to say it. It's a fear that I have. Maybe fear is a strong word, but you know, it's hard to imagine a world where this drops like below MSRP. And by the time like we get a year out from release, you know, the box is going to be a year old. And then every month that goes by, it's just less and less likely that we're getting a big booster box reprint. So, you know, I have to imagine that Pokemon Company, they want to get this product out to people more. I just don't know if it's going to be the booster box, if that's what they're prioritizing, because we've seen a lot of ETBs, we've seen a lot of bundles, 3-pack blisters. I think we'll probably be more likely to see those products than the box itself, which is that's been the case for pretty much every other set at this point. We'll see. We'll see. Again, I'm not buying at 250. That seems crazy. It just came out. But around $200, I feel pretty good about it. I feel pretty good about it. Yeah, there's probably better places you can put your money, like maybe Sword and Shield, but you know, arguably the most popular era of all time and the best box. I am confident it will perform well long term. Very confident. So I don't lose too much. I don't lose much sleep over it. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at on that currently. Sets like Pokemon Go, Shining Fates, Champions Path, yeah, all the mid sets, PCTBs as an exception. Battle styles, Sword and Shield base, like, yeah, they're never going to be growing as fast as something like Fusion Strike. And I don't care about the price point because the demand isn't there. Not saying that can't change, but I'd rather be in Evolving Skies than those sets personally. Also, from like my own personal investing, I just enjoy that more. I enjoy liking the things that I own. I don't want a Darkness Ablaze box. Yeah, if I get it at a great price, okay, that's a different story. But like, I'm not gonna feel warm and fuzzy inside like I do with my 2 Evolving Skies boxes, you know. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Obsidian Flames, I agree. I think this set sucks. I mean, it's not that bad. A lot of people like it. It's ripped a bunch. Not a ton of chase cards, not a ton of set value, but it is the Charizard box, so you got to have some respect on it. It's been pretty much flat for a little while, a couple months or so, but it's had a really, really strong performance this past year, 124%. The PCTB will be a top tier PCTB of the era. Charmander promo. It's undeniable, so I can't say that like everything Obsidian is bad because the set has performed really better than we all thought, I think. And the PCTB is exceptional. Analyze says loose packs of any set would never trust sleeve boosters after seeing what Amazon employees have done by taking the hits and resealing it while under surveillance. Yeah, I ain't buying packs on Amazon. Believe it or not, and on my data sheet, loose booster packs actually barely outperformed the 3-pack blisters and build and battle boxes. I mean, they're all pretty much on par with each other, but like, I think I think part of that is because rip and shipping. I mean, it's performed nearly the same as the sleeves packs, which is crazy. But yeah, I think a part of that is because there's more opportunity to get loose packs at a really good price. I have 80 Evolving Evo Skies packs at $3.33. So like, yeah, something like that is going to perform well because I don't have to pay a premium on them. I can get it either at or below MSRP. And yeah, of course, you know, with Sword and Shield packs, you do especially need to be careful. You need to be less careful with Scarlet and Violet ones because they're not, they're harder to like use the little thing on them to like scan them or whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, resealed packs, they will always like have a kind of negative aura around them because of the potential for that. But if it's a trusted seller and a trusted buyer, you know, and the way rip and shipping is, like, loose packs are going to be always in demand. So yeah, it's maybe not the best investment, but if you can get them for the right price under the right circumstances, like I did in the holiday season, it's like my top performing investment. So yeah, pretty wild. Pretty wild. I think there's some nuance there to dissect. Any set currently in print, I just don't agree. Technically, like, Paldea Evolved is in print, and yeah, we're getting more of it, but it doesn't mean it's a bad investment. If you bought boxes a year ago at $80, you're pretty happy. 151 still in print, but everything is 2 times MSRP, so objectively, it's not a bad investment. Same with Prismatic, quite frankly, if you get it at MSRP. Objectively a good investment because it's literally just 2 times the value, essentially, for most products. So I don't agree. I know what you're trying to say. Sets that are in print are, they're more likely to be impacted because they can be reprinted, obviously. But I think there's more nuance there than that statement. But I appreciate the comment, dude. And finally, the first commenter, Team Rocket Joey. Y'all know him. Big supporter of the channel. Helped me out a lot. Prismatic Evolutions regular ETBs at secondary market price. Now, there's a couple lines of thinking. The first line is that the Pokemon Company, they've come out and they've said, hey, we're going to print this set to hell. And it's going to tank the values, is the implication. And you could likely see the set go down to MSRP or lower. This set came out 6 months ago, so it's very young. Still plenty of opportunity for that to happen. We saw huge Costco reprints of the bundles with the booster bundle and the ETB. It did impact prices. They dropped all the way down to about 95-ish plus whatever you want to call it, dollars. You can find them for 90 all day on Facebook. Now they've bounced back up in the last month to about $110, roughly, give or take. So I think the argument is that, yeah, they're going to print more. It's going to go down. There's also an argument that, like, look, the SIRs are not as good as people think. It's mostly fueled by hype. I kind of see it, but evolutions are, even when the arts aren't as... And I don't think the arts are bad. But yeah, I just think that a lot of people think they're definitely overrated. I think they're a little bit overrated, but they're still really good. And you can't deny the just sheer amount of volume for this set. I mean, currently 3,100 listed in the last 3 months, 5,386 sold. So the sell-through rate is crazy. People are ripping them like crazy. They are ripping shipping them like probably more than any other set, even at these prices, $10 to $15. Crazy work. Please don't buy those. We have to expect holiday season around the corner. We have to expect that we'll see a lot more of these. Personally, I would not recommend buying at secondary market prices. I don't see it as necessary. I haven't really had that hard of a time, thankfully, and I know a lot of people have, like, getting product at MSRP. I have like 8 ETBs that I got at MSRP. I'm kind of opening some here and there for the channel, also just kind of as like a hedge in case, we've seen what has happened in the past where the Pokemon Company, they haven't really printed that many ETBs for a lot of sets after a certain amount of time post-release. Could be that Prismatic is an exception, but there's also a world where they just continue to march up, and then we see more bundles and more collection boxes, and we have the September box coming out. So who knows what will happen. The promo is also really good. Not that that's affecting it that much right now, but it does help. I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever see this be MSRP again. It could totally happen. There's just so much demand for it, and it's being ripped so much, and the market conditions are just different than they were 5 years ago. They're just a little bit different. Like the bull market back then, it was pretty much over by now in the same time frame, and we still have a lot of catalysts, a lot of time to go. There's a lot of hype for upcoming sets, and we'll see what happens. I mean, you should be prepared either way, and you should definitely be safe. But personally, if you want to avoid any risk, just don't buy at these prices. You don't really need to. You'll be able to, between now and 2 years from now, you'll have a pretty solid chance of finding this at MSRP. So, yeah, I pretty much agree. But I think, again, there's a little bit of nuance there. Powered by Bitcoin. Shout out to Bitcoin right now. pretty crazy. But yeah, guys, I'll wrap it up there. That's all the comments. Thank you so much for commenting. It's kind of a fun one to go through. We always talk about the top investments, but it's fun to also talk about the worst investments and keep this fresh in people's minds that a lot of things are fueled by hype, fueled by FOMO. You should understand that the bull market demand is not sustainable forever. It's not sustainable forever. So keep finding good deals, have conviction in what you buy, have reasoning for what you buy. If you just run out and you buy this at $110 because you just are FOMOing into it, that's not a good plan. That's not a good plan. So yeah, same with all these like little collection boxes that actually kind of suck for investment, especially at these prices. So yeah, guys, just be careful. Be careful. Still plenty of deals find. By the way, got my Blooming Waters box. Went to the apartment complex. They said it wasn't there. I looked around and there it was. So what the heck? Were they trying to get me? I don't know. But I got it. It's my first one. I got it at MSRP, $65. Shout out to PokeNotify. Yeah, guys, appreciate you watching. I will see you soon. Enjoy your weekend. And again, thank you for everything. Peace.